What's up, YouTube? Billy Gardner here. Wanted to do a quick video on some plants that I picked up from my local nursery. I have 5 Parks Whopper tomatoes. I have 2 bell pepper plants. I have 1 Brandywine tomato. I have some jalapeno peppers over here to the left. I have a Carolina Reaper pepper right here in the middle, and I'm really excited about growing that one. And I have some watermelon plants. My Parks Whopper tomato, last year I grew 4 of them, and they did exceptionally well. So of course, this year I'm growing more Parks Whopper tomatoes. My advice to anyone that's growing tomatoes: people really struggle with tomatoes, and I understand why people struggle with them. Tomato plants are really easy to grow, but they're also really easy to mess up on. And if you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy. They're pretty easy to grow, but if you're one of those people that don't pay attention to your plants, they won't survive. They can die on you in an instant. So, um, the Parks Whopper, like I said, it did exceptionally well. We had more tomatoes than we could eat last year. We literally had tomatoes going bad in the refrigerator. Um, but my advice to you would always be to do your research on which tomato plants do well in your area. That's very important. If you go to a big box store, they're going to have at least 15 different varieties of tomatoes. I would spend about 5 to 10 minutes on Google or some local gardening forum just to see which tomato varieties do well in your area. Last year, I was at the local nursery, and me and a guy started a conversation, and he was telling me about the varieties that did well for him, and the Parks Whopper was one of them. So I picked them up, and hey, they did well for me as well. So, you know, just a little bit of advice: you do what you want to do. I know sometimes people like to grow, 4 or 5 different varieties. I was that guy up until last year. Well, actually, up until this year, because last year I grew a whole bunch of varieties. But like I said, you can grow all the different varieties, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, so I don't want anybody to get mad at me. But hey, if you want to grow tomatoes, I would suggest you do your research and find out which varieties do well in your area and stick with that. Now, I'm saying all that, and I have a Brandywine tomato, which is not one of the varieties that the man that I spoke to told me about, but it was only $2. It's I've always heard of the Brandywine. I've always wanted to try it. So I purchased it and I put it in a container. But the thing is, I have 5 Parks Whopper and only 1 Brandywine. So I'll leave that subject alone. Anyways, moving right along to my bell pepper plants, I actually have a yellow bell pepper and a red bell pepper. The bell pepper plants do well for me as far as growing. The only bad thing about the bell pepper plants is that once the bell peppers start to ripen, the bugs like go ham on these plants, and they tear those bell peppers up. When I go to pull a bell pepper off, I turn it around and there's a big hole in it. So I'm going to grow them over here instead of against the wall that I normally grow my peppers and everything against. And hopefully that makes a difference. To be honest with you, it probably won't, but maybe it will. Who knows? And I have 4 more of the Parks Whopper tomatoes back there. There's no particular reason why I have this one here. It's just the way it played out. Also, another thing about tomatoes: make sure you cut these lower limbs off of your tomato plants. You don't want your leaves touching the dirt. Also, when it rains, you don't want the mud to splash up on your leaves. That's a quick way for your tomato plants to get an infection. So please cut the lower parts of your tree of I say your trees, the lower parts of your plants off. You're not growing beautiful plants. Well, hey, maybe you are. Maybe you just like the way your tomato plant looks. I can't tell you what to grow, but I think it's safe to say that we want tomatoes and not just big, beautiful plants. So cut those lower limbs off. All right. We also have some jalapeno plants, and there's a little lizard hanging out by the jalapenos. I didn't even see him, but we have some jalapeno plants down there. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the 5 gallon containers as well. The Carolina Reaper. I'm not sure what kind of container I'm going to put that in, since that's going to be my specialty grow this year. And my watermelons, I'm going to do the same thing I did last year. I'm going to put those in an 18-gallon container and just let the vines run out and get some more watermelons. All right. So I just wanted to do a quick video on the plants that I picked up from the local nursery. I also purchased 2 blueberry plants. I'm going to do a separate video on those. And so stay tuned for that. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.